Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome back. I am going to be breaking down the top five tank guardians in Disney Mirrorverse today. Um, just my overall thoughts and who I think are the top five. Just a disclaimer with this series, because I am going to be breaking down every single class. So far, I've already done ranged, and now I'm doing tank. But just a disclaimer that this is just my opinion. It's somewhat based off of my experience with the game, but it's also based on overall abilities. Um, so this game's very complicated. There's a lot of different nodes, modes, story, riff rates, requirements, and so not, it's not necessarily one guardian fits all. There's gonna be times where Oogie Boogie's gonna be like the greatest option. I mean, it happens in this game, so it's very complex. I will kind of say that I truly believe that the number one on this list is the best tank in the game. However, numbers two through five can honestly be interchangeable for each other. All four of them. I mean, it just depends on what you're doing, what you need. All four of them are really good. The only one that I feel really confident is, right in their spot where they should be is number one. And then outside of that, it's kind of just pick your poison, pick your choice. So. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So I'll start at number five again. Um, so number five is actually going to be Wally, and he is pretty much my top tank guardian in the game. So Wally is short, high tech, goofball, shape shifting, and Pixar. So Wally basically he can't be healed initially, and when it's attempted, he will gain armor, and whenever buffs expire, he'll also gain armor. So he's all about gaining armor, just being very tanky, being right in front of the opponents and blocking all the damage for you. Um, and whenever he is the target of a heal after three charges, then he is going to be his health will be healed from there. So he can also grant allies with armor. The only thing, and the only reason why I have him number five and not any higher is because of all the Guardians on this list, he definitely has the worst damage, and it's not even close. His damage is kind of lacking, so that does bring him down a little bit, but he does the job that he needs to do. He'll do what you need. So, yeah, that is number five for me. But very, very, very strong Guardian, and just he does his job really well. So. Let's go to number four, though. So number four is going to be Sully. So Sully is tall, high-tech, scary leader, lawful. Pixar has a lot of traits, really good ones too. So Sully starts with a fight with armor. His special attacks has a knockback on it to everybody that's around him, and it can stun the opponent. And he has a strong lore ability. Plus, he gets attack buffs and defensive buffs with his signature ability. So yeah, he had a really nice buff that they gave him. Pairs really well with Mike Wazowski and a few other support guardians. Has very solid damage, and I do like all of his traits. So yeah, he is number four in my opinion. Going on to number three is probably my personal favorite one lately, and that's my second highest here, and that's Mr. Incredible. So Mr. Incredible is tall, leader, lawful, short fuse, and Pixar, so a little bit different traits there. He is immune to knockback, and then he gains defense and armor buffs. And I would say out of this entire list, he has the highest damage output. I'm fairly confident that he does. So yeah, he just hits very, very hard. He charges the heavy attacks, and he is, however, the only downside to him, I would say, is that ideally, you really need to use him so you can charge those heavies and get the most out of his damage. Somewhat like Zerg, you want to hold the heavy attacks, so ideally you want to be using Zerg. So same thing with Mr. Incredible. Yes, he can be very good without you using him, but I just ideally you want to use him to get the most out of his damage. So, um, but yeah, I think he's got the highest damage output amongst this class. And depending on what you want, if you just want damage, I would say he might be number one. So I mean, he's very very strong. But I feel confident with him being at number three. So all right, going on to number two on the list is going to be King Triton. So King Triton, he is tall, leader, blade wielder, royalty, and seafaring. Having a blade wielder in your tank is actually really nice. That's cool. There's not too many of those in the tank class, so he is immune to burn and has shock resistance. He can purge attack buffs, and then his special ability pulls enemies into a radius and it deals 200% damage, and it'll root them. So that is, in my opinion, the greatest, best thing about Triton. It's very unique, very, very, very powerful. It has a 15-second cooldown, but basically, you can just go into an area of enemies, use your special attack, and then it's going to pull all of them in. And there's so much you can do with that. You can use like a range guardian, maybe like a Buzz or Zerg or somebody like that, maybe Frozone. A lot of just any of them really that have good special attacks, and then you can hit all of them at once with it. So it's very, very, very powerful. So yeah, that's like my favorite thing about him. Um, I do wish that his damage output was a little bit higher, but it's not the worst in the game. He can also increase allies' armor and inflict damage over time with his special attack. So yeah, that's King Triton. I do think he's the second best tank guardian in Disney River. So wish the damage was slightly higher, but I can't deny how amazing that special attack is. It's so good, and I can't wait to get a higher star rating of him. Mine is still only a 3 star from the event. So all right, and to round off the list, number one is going to be Simba. So he did receive a nerf, but he's still going to remain in that number one slot in this game. So he is medium royalty, goofball, and leader. So a little bit of different traits with the goofball there. Nice to have that in your tank, especially for riff raids. But also, I think Boogie Boogie has that too. So, but anyway, so Simba is immune to stun. He also has damage resistance against melees and tanks, and then he can gain indestructible buffs and lure enemies. That indestructible buff is extremely powerful. I think it's one of his best features that he has personally. He also has a knockback on his special, and yeah, he's just a really hard counter to tanks and melees. If you see those in the game and you have him, just use them. um, so yeah, and then he can also inflict Dizzy debuff, which can cause them to miss their attacks, and then he can gain attack buffs while facing them. So yeah, he is just really, really strong, nice indestructible buff that he has, and the Dizzy debuff, really, really good. I still believe he's number one in the game. For the tank class, I don't think there's any disputing it. For me personally, he's definitely the best still. But like I said, just disclaimer, it's very roster dependent. All of the lists that I can make for each class are going to be roster dependent based on probably your opinion that you might have. I mean, if you have, say, an Astral 3 Sully and you have a 2 star Simba, you're probably going to think that Sully's better than Simba. So I personally did, making this list, I tried my best to steer away from that, because my top two that I always use all the time, my go-tos are Wally and Mr. Incredible. And they're on the list and they're very, very, very strong, but I can't deny that I do think that, Triton and Simba are both probably better than them. I just don't have them quite leveled up very high just yet. So yeah, that is gonna do it for today's video. That is the top five tanks in Disney Mirrorverse. Um, as I've said one more time, Simba I think is number one, but truthfully, like the rest of the four of those, you cannot go wrong. They're all interchangeable within the list. I think you could rank them anywhere within it, and they'd be very, you could make a very good case for it. You can make a good case that Sully is number two. I, maybe. So, But those, all five of them, at the end of the day, are very, very powerful. So if you do recently pull them or start to get a higher star rating or astral on them, and you're thinking about ranking them up, definitely do it, because they will definitely serve you very well. Um, I have a 4-star Rex. He's level 60. The word out on him is not that good right now. I'm still testing around with him. So he didn't make the list. He's too new. I want to play with him a little bit more. I think I don't mind him, but it just seems like he's very reliant on specific team builds. So I think Mike Wazowski can make him a lot better with the extra armor he can grant him, because the armor he can get in his base kit's not that great in my opinion. So I still need to play around with him a bit. He's definitely fun to me. His special attacks, his playstyle is very fun. I just don't know how strong he is quite yet. I need to do more testing, so I'm still doing the event there. Um, so yeah, some other notable mentions though. I mean, if you do need like seafaring, Maui is a good option. I just don't think he's nearly as good as the other five that I listed for most content. If you need goofball or villainous, then Oogie Boogie could be okay. Um, I would say he did not make the list, but I would definitely say that Beast is probably number six if I had to, continue the list. He's very strong, very, very good. There's nothing really wrong with him, but I just think that the rest of the five that I listed are a bit better. Anyways, that'll do it for today's video. I will drop support and melee next, so just be on the lookout for those. But let me know what you thought of the list, who your top five are, whether you agree, disagree. But yeah, just let me know. But I will catch you in the next one. Hope you have a great day.